When Nigerian billionaire heir Obinna Okafor brings home Amelia Rose, a white woman with blue eyes and a tender heart, his parents reject her for not fitting their traditions. Choosing love over wealth, Obinna walks away from his inheritance. But the woman they once despised becomes the blessing that restores their family and unites two worlds beneath the same sky. The evening sun descended lazily over Ikoyi, bathing the skyline in a golden hue. The sprawling Okafor mansion stood proudly at the end of a quiet avenue, its white-painted walls glowing under the light. The compound shimmered with modern luxury, marble driveways, fountains reflecting the orange sunset, and well-trimmed hibiscus bushes framing the grand entrance. Inside, the air was cool and perfumed with the faint scent of imported jasmine. Chandeliers glittered over the high-ceilinged living room, where every piece of furniture looked too perfect to sit on. Expensive art lined the walls, reminders of the family's wealth and legacy. And standing before those glass doors, heart pounding beneath his crisp white shirt, was Obinna Okafor, heir to one of Nigeria's oldest business empires. At 30, he carried both the charm and confidence of a man who had built his own identity despite the shadow of privilege. But that evening, his confidence was tested more than ever before. Beside him stood Amelia Rose, the woman who had stolen his heart far away in London. She was radiant in a soft cream dress that hugged her delicate figure. Her long black hair shimmered like silk, and her striking blue eyes looked both excited and frightened as they reflected the mansion lights. She took a deep breath and whispered, "Are you sure about this?" Obinna turned to her, his lips curving into a small smile. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." She gave a shaky laugh. "What if they don't like me?" He reached for her hand, his thumb gently tracing her knuckles. "Then he'll still love you. And that's enough." Their fingers intertwined, brown and white, different worlds meeting under one promise. As they stepped into the house, their footsteps echoed through the marble hallway. A maid in a neatly pressed Ankara uniform greeted them with a small bow before disappearing toward the kitchen. The living room ahead looked like a palace, white and gold tones, soft beige couches, glass coffee tables holding vases of fresh lilies. On one end sat Chief Okafor, dressed in an immaculate white kaftan and red cap, his walking stick resting beside him. His expression was carved in stone. Beside him, Mrs. Okafor, regal in her gold lace and coral beads, had just her glasses, her face already tight with curiosity. Obinna cleared his throat softly. "Mama, Papa," he began, voice calm but firm, "I'd like you to meet someone special." Both parents exchanged a quick glance before looking at the woman beside him. "This is Amelia Rose," Obinna continued, his hand still holding hers. "This, the woman I love. And the woman I wish to marry." The words dropped like thunder in the serene room. For a long moment, no one spoke. The only sound came from the soft ticking of the gold-rimmed wall clock. Then Mrs. Okafor blinked rapidly, her lips parting. "A white woman?" Amelia smiled nervously. "Good evening, sir." "Ma. It's an honor to meet you both." Her accent, soft and foreign, floated in the air like fragile glass. Chief Okafor leaned forward slightly, his deep voice echoing. "Obinna, are there no women left in this country? Papa, please, answer me." He snapped. "Is this how you repay your upbringing? Bringing a foreigner home to disgrace your ancestors?" Obinna took a slow breath. "Papa, she's not a disgrace. She's the best thing that ever happened to me." Mrs. Okafor's voice trembled, more from disbelief than anger. "You are the heir to the Okafor legacy, Obinna. You will one day sit where your father sits. What will people say when they see a white woman leading your home? Have you thought about tradition? Our people? Our culture?" Amelia's eyes glistened. She stepped forward slightly, her voice gentle but brave. "Ma, sir, I may not know everything about your ways yet, but I love your son, and am ready to learn, your food, your language, your culture, everything. I want to belong, not replace." Mrs. Okafor stared at her sincerity, her trembling hands, her clear blue eyes that seemed too soft for the storm she was standing in. But her voice remained cold. "Belonging is not learned in a day, my dear. You cannot just walk into a family like ours and erase centuries of heritage. Amelia's lips quivered, but before she could speak, Obinna stepped closer. Mama, I'm not asking for approval out of duty. I'm asking for your blessing out of love. She completes me. Chief Okafor's voice was sharp and final. Then you are no longer the son I raised. The words cut through him like a blade. The silence that followed was heavy, almost suffocating. Amelia reached for his hand, her grip trembling. Obi, she whispered softly, her voice breaking. He turned to his parents one last time. If love makes me less of your son, then maybe I was never meant to inherit your throne. And with that, he took Amelia's hand and led her out of the mansion, past the golden staircase, past the portraits of ancestors, past the life he once knew. Outside, the evening air felt cooler, freer. The car engine started, headlights illuminating the path ahead. Amelia sat beside him, silent tears streaming down her face. Obinna reached over, wiping them away with his thumb. Don't cry, my love, he whispered. You didn't break anything. You just gave me something to rebuild with. She smiled weakly. I'm sorry for what you lost. He shook his head, his eyes fixed on the road. I didn't lose anything, he said softly. I found you. As the mansion faded behind them, their journey began, not toward comfort, but toward a love that would test every tradition and still emerge victorious. The morning light streamed through the cream curtains of their new apartment in Lekki Phase 1, painting the white walls in a soft golden glow. The space was smaller than anything Obinna had ever lived in, but it carried something the mansion never had: peace. The apartment reflected Amelia's gentle taste: light wooden floors, white furniture with gold trimmings, and indoor plants by the wide glass windows that opened to a view of the lagoon. The air smelled of fresh coffee and sea breeze. A few framed photos already lined the wall, one of Obinna laughing, another of them on a Lagos beach, sand between their toes. It wasn't the life he was raised for, but it was the life he chose. That morning, Amelia stood in the kitchen wearing one of Obinna's white shirts, sleeves rolled up, hair tied in a messy bun. She was stirring a pot of jollof rice, her face serious in concentration. Obinna leaned against the kitchen door, watching her. The aroma filled the room, smoky, slightly burnt, but inviting. He smiled. Smells. Adventurous, he teased. She turned with a frown, holding up a spoon. Don't you dare laugh. I followed your mother's recipe online. He laughed anyway, walking closer. You followed Mama's recipe online? Babe, that woman doesn't even know how to post a picture, talk less of a recipe. Amelia tried to glare at him but failed, breaking into laughter. He came behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist, his chin resting on her shoulder. Even if you burn it, he whispered, I'll eat it. You're cooking for me, that's enough. She smiled, leaning into him. You gave up your mansion for me, Obinna. The least I can do is learn how to make your jollof right. He turned her around to face him, his voice soft. I didn't give up a mansion, Mia. I left behind walls. You're my home now. Her eyes shimmered. You always say things like that, and then expect me not to cry. He kissed her forehead. Then don't cry. Just believe me. That night, they ate the smoky rice on the small dining table by candlelight. The power had gone out, as it often did, but neither of them minded. They lit 2 scented candles, poured a bottle of red wine, and laughed until tears rolled down their cheeks. I swear, the rice tastes like campfire, Amelia said, trying to keep a straight face. And yet, Obinna said with a grin, I'm on my 3rd plate. That should tell you something. When she laughed again, he leaned forward, his tone changing, tender, full of something deeper. Do you ever regret it? He asked quietly. Regret what? Leaving your world. For mine. Amelia set down her fork, her blue eyes soft under the candlelight. My world didn't have you. That's reason enough. He reached across the table, taking her hand. You've changed my life, Mia. You make every struggle worth it. She smiled. You make every sacrifice feel small. Later that night, the rain began, soft at first, then steady against the windows. Amelia sat curled on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, watching the city lights through the glass. Obinna joined her, pulling her into his arms. I used to hate the sound of rain, she murmured. It always made me feel lonely. But here with you, it sounds like peace. He brushed his fingers through her hair. That's because you're no longer alone. She tilted her face up to him. Promise me something. Anything. No matter what happens, family, business, the world, promise me you'll never let go. He cupped her face gently, his thumb tracing her lips. Even if the world turns against us, I'll hold you till the end. Then he kissed her, slow, deep, and full of everything words couldn't say. The rain outside grew heavier, the thunder rolled softly, and the room glowed in the dim candlelight as they sank into each other's warmth. For the first time since leaving the mansion, they didn't feel lost. They felt free. Their love, stripped of luxury and approval, was pure, raw, imperfect, but true. And as they fell asleep in each other's arms that night, Obinna whispered, barely above a breath, "Whatever happens next, Mia, we'll rise together." The sky over Lekki was heavy that evening, clouds rolling in like silent waves, dark and swollen with rain. The sound of distant thunder echoed across the lagoon, and the wind whispered against the balcony glass. Inside their small but elegant apartment, Amelia sat cross-legged on the couch, sketching on her notepad. Her hair was tied loosely, a few strands falling over her face as she drew. Across the room, Obinna, dressed in his signature crisp white shirt and dark slacks, worked on his laptop. The dim light from the lamp cast a soft glow over his face, making the room feel warm and quiet, the kind of peace that comes only after chaos. The air smelled of rain and vanilla. Then came the first crack of lightning, followed by the low rumble of thunder. Amelia flinched slightly and looked up. "Looks like it's about to pour," she murmured. Obinna closed his laptop and smiled. "Perfect weather for cuddling, don't you think?" She rolled her eyes, pretending not to blush. "You think everything is perfect weather for cuddling?" She grinned. "Because it is." Outside, the rain began to fall, soft at first, then heavier, tapping rhythmically against the large glass window. Amelia got up and walked closer to it, wrapping her arms around herself. She watched as the streets below slowly blurred into silver lines of water. Obinna came behind her, sliding his arms around her waist, his chin resting on her shoulder. "Penny for your thoughts?" She sighed softly. "Just thinking about how different my life is now. Back in London, I never imagined I'd be standing here. In Lagos, in a thunderstorm, married to a man who gave up everything for me." He turned her gently to face him. "You make it sound like I made a mistake." Her blue eyes lifted to meet his brown ones. "I just don't want to be the reason you lost your family." Obinna's hand came up to her cheek, warm and steady. "Mia, you didn't make me lose them. They chose pride over love. One day, they'll see what we built and realize love was the right choice all along." She tried to smile, but her voice trembled. "Do you really believe that?" He nodded slowly. "I believe in us." The sincerity in his voice cracked something open inside her. She pressed her forehead against his chest, her tears dampening his shirt. "You believe enough for both of us," she whispered. He tilted her face up, brushing away her tears with his thumb. "Then let me keep believing. For now, for tomorrow, for always." He kissed her, slow, tender, deliberate. The kiss deepened as thunder rolled outside, the room glowing faintly under flashes of lightning. Their hearts beat against each other like twin drums, the rain outside harmonizing with their rhythm. Obinna lifted her gently, carrying her to the couch where the candlelight flickered beside them. His hand traced the side of her face, memorizing every curve, every sigh. "This," he whispered against her skin, "this is what I fought for." Amelia's fingers tangled in his hair as she met his gaze, breathless. "Then promise me, no matter how hard life gets, we never let go of this." He smiled, his eyes soft but fierce. "I promise. No matter how heavy the rain, I'll always find my way back to you." Their lips met again, this time with a fire that outshone the storm. The rain drummed louder, the windows fogged, and the city outside disappeared into a blur of silver and gold. For that night, they weren't just lovers, they were survivors. Two hearts defying the world, their love rising from the ashes of rejection. Later, as the rain softened to a whisper, Amelia lay against his chest, tracing lazy circles on his skin. The candle beside them burned low, casting an amber glow over the room. She smiled faintly. Do you think your parents will ever forgive us? Obina looked down at her and brushed a strand of hair from her face. Maybe one day. But even if they don't, I already have everything I need right here. She closed her eyes, her voice barely a whisper. I love you, Obi. And I, he murmured, pressing his lips to her forehead, love you more than words, more than wealth, more than life itself. Outside, the sky cleared slowly. The rain eased into silence. And above the quiet city of Lagos, the moon broke through the clouds, soft, glowing, and whole again. Just like them. Morning sunlight poured through the tall glass windows of the new office building, reflecting off polished marble floors. It was a humble start, one floor in a shared workspace at Victoria Island, but to Obina and Amelia, it felt like the top of the world. Amelia stood beside a freshly installed glass door that bore their new company name in bold silver letters. Abitech Innovations Limited. Her heart swelled. It looks beautiful, she whispered, brushing her fingers across the logo. Behind her, Obina had just his tie, his usual crisp white shirt paired with navy trousers. Beautiful, he said softly, but his eyes were on her, not the logo. She turned, catching his gaze. You're supposed to be admiring our new beginning, not me. He smirked. You are my new beginning. She laughed, shaking her head, but the warmth in her chest stayed. The first few months were brutal. Obina's family had cut him off financially when he refused to end his marriage to Amelia. His father, Chief Okafor, had once built an empire in real estate and expected Obina to inherit it. Instead, Obina chose love and a dream of his own, building a Nigerian tech brand that would compete globally. Without his father's backing, Obina and Amelia poured their savings into the startup. Amelia handled design and client communication, while Obina took charge of partnerships and finance. Many nights, they worked till dawn, surviving on instant noodles and coffee. One rainy night, much like the night they promised each other forever, Amelia sat by her laptop, her eyes heavy. Obi, she murmured, what if we fail? He looked up from his paperwork. Then we'll fail together. But at least it'll be our failure, not anyone else's success. She smiled faintly. You always have an answer. He chuckled. That's what CEOs do. Amelia tilted her head. You're not just my CEO. You're my partner. My home. He stood and walked to her, brushing his hand against her cheek. Then let's build our future. One code, one client, one heartbeat at a time. Weeks turned into months, and small miracles began to happen. A young Nigerian fintech company, PaySwift, gave them their first major contract to develop a secure digital wallet interface. Amelia's clean designs and Obina's negotiation skills impressed the client beyond expectations. Soon word spread. Startups began calling them, local investors took interest, and the couple who once worked out of a small shared office were now hiring their first team of 10 employees. One afternoon, Obina called for a meeting in the half-furnished office. Everyone, he said with a grin, I want you to remember this day. We're not just building software. We're building trust. Nigerian tech deserves a voice, and Obi Tech will be that voice. His words lit a spark in the room. Amelia, standing at the back, watched him proudly. She'd never seen him so alive. The same man who once lost everything now led a team with fire in his eyes. After the meeting, she approached him quietly. You were incredible. He smiled. You think? I know. She touched his tie gently. This dream, it's becoming real. Obina took her hand and squeezed it. And it's all because you believed when no one else did. That night, as they left the office, the city lights of Lagos shimmered across the lagoon. Amelia leaned her head on his shoulder as they walked to the car. You ever think about your father? She asked softly. You ever think about your father? She asked softly. All the time, he replied. But I've learned something. What's that? That love and purpose can build what money and pride can't. She smiled. Then let's build everything beneath this same sky. He kissed her forehead. Together always. By the end of the year, Obitech Innovations had secured its first international client from Dubai. Investors called it a miracle startup. The press called Obina the billionaire visionary. But those who knew their story understood, behind every headline was love, sacrifice, and a woman who believed when the world didn't. Amelia watched him during a company celebration that night. The lights, the champagne, the laughter, it all felt like a dream. And when Obinna found her in the crowd, their eyes met, the same look they had shared that rainy night years ago. Only this time, they weren't surviving anymore. They were rising. The golden light of dusk spilled into their Lekki mansion, a stunning, modern home that seemed to glow with peace. White marble floors, glass railings, soft cream curtains, and accents of gold lined the walls. It was everything Obinna had once dreamed of, wealth earned by his own hands, not inherited. Amelia sat on the long velvet couch, flipping through an interior magazine. She wore a soft white dress, her black hair cascading down her shoulders, her blue eyes reflecting the fading sunlight. Obinna entered, his crisp white shirt sleeves rolled up, his face still bright with the energy of the day. He leaned down and kissed her cheek. "You're still awake, Nkem?" She smiled faintly. "Barely. But I wanted to see you before you collapse on that couch again." He laughed softly, dropping beside her. "We just secured another client in Kenya. That's our third expansion this quarter." Her eyes widened. "Obi, that's amazing." He hummed, his smile fading slightly. "But with growth comes noise. Everyone suddenly wants a piece. Journalists, politicians, even. Family." Her hands froze. "Your parents?" He nodded slowly. "My father called today. He wants to meet." Amelia's heart skipped. It had been nearly 3 years since they last spoke, the day Obinna walked away from the family estate to marry her. She turned toward him. "What did you say?" "I told him yes." The meeting was arranged for Sunday afternoon at the Okafor mansion, the same home where Amelia was once turned away without so much as a glass of water. That morning, Amelia stood before the mirror in a sky-blue gown, her fingers trembling as she adjusted her earrings. "What if they still don't want me there?" She whispered. Obinna appeared behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "They don't have to want you," he murmured against her ear. "They'll see you. The woman who stood beside me when I had nothing. That's all that matters." She turned to face him. "You think they'll forgive us?" He smiled softly. "Maybe they already have." The Okafor mansion loomed as magnificent as ever, tall ivory pillars, a vast courtyard with fountains and gold-trimmed doors that whispered old wealth. When the gates opened, Chief and Madame Okafor stood by the grand staircase, dressed in matching traditional attire. The air was thick with pride and awkward silence. "Welcome, my son," Chief Okafor said at last, his deep voice steady. "Good afternoon, Papa," Obinna replied, bowing lightly. His mother's eyes softened when they fell on Amelia. "Looking well, my dear." Amelia smiled nervously. "Thank you, ma." For the first time, there was no rejection in her tone, only curiosity, even a hint of guilt. They sat together in the living room, surrounded by white sofas and glittering chandeliers. Chief Okafor clasped his hands. "Obinna, we've seen what you've done. Ubitekis. Impressive. I was wrong to think you'd fail." Obinna's voice was calm. "You weren't wrong to worry, Papa. You were wrong to think I couldn't rise without your shadow." The room went still. His father sighed deeply. "I see that now." He turned to Amelia. "And you, I misjudged you. I thought you'd take him away from his roots. But instead, you've helped him plant new ones." Amelia's throat tightened. "Sir, I never wanted to take him away. I only wanted him to find peace. With or without approval." Madame Okafor's eyes glistened. "We made you feel unwanted. We let pride guide us instead of love. Please forgive us, my daughter." Tears filled Amelia's eyes as she reached for her mother-in-law's hand. "I already did, ma. Long ago." Later that night, as they drove home in silence, Obinna reached over and took her hand. "You were incredible in there." She smiled through her tears. "Your father cried, Obi. I've never seen him do that." "He realized what love can do," Obinna said softly. "And so did I." She turned to him, her voice trembling with emotion. "All I ever wanted was for them to see you the way I do, not as a billionaire, not as an heir, but as the man with the kindest heart." He looked at her, eyes glimmering under the city lights. And you, Amelia Rose, are the best thing that ever happened to that heart. She leaned her head on his shoulder as Lagos blurred by outside the window, the skyline shining like a promise. For the first time, everything felt complete. Love, forgiveness, and the gentle peace that comes after a storm. But life had more tests to offer. As Obitech climbed higher, so did envy, temptation, and pressure. Amelia began noticing subtle changes, late-night calls, endless trips, and the return of faces from Obina's past. The sky that once seemed so clear was beginning to gather clouds again. 10 years later, the Okafor mansion stood brighter than ever, its white pillars polished, its gardens alive with color, and laughter echoing from every corner. The once quiet home that had witnessed rejection and pain was now a sanctuary of joy. Children's giggles rang through the courtyard as 5-year-old Zara Okafor, with her caramel skin and startling blue eyes, ran barefoot across the grass. Her black curls bounced as she chased a butterfly, her little dress brushing the flowers. "Zara, careful with the roses," Amelia called, standing by the veranda in a flowing white gown, her hair tied loosely behind her. Obina stepped out beside her, dressed as always in his crisp white shirt and black trousers, the same serene confidence radiating from his presence. He smiled as he watched his daughter. "She's got your stubbornness," he teased. Amelia laughed softly. "And your charm. A dangerous combination." They stood side by side, watching Zara run toward the fountain, the same spot where Obina had once argued with his father about marrying her. Now, that very fountain was engraved with new words. "Love conquers culture when hearts choose peace." A familiar voice interrupted their quiet moment. "My granddaughter. Come here, my jewel." It was Chief Okafor, now older, slower, but still dignified in his embroidered white agbada. He lifted little Zara into his arms, laughing heartily. Madame Okafor joined him, her smile warm and unguarded. "Papa, you'll spoil her," Obina said with a grin. The old man chuckled. "If I don't spoil her, who will?" This one carries 2 worlds in her eyes, Africa and the West. She's proof that love builds bridges no one can burn. Amelia's eyes glistened with quiet gratitude. Every time she saw her father-in-law hold their daughter, she remembered the day he'd first refused to shake her hand. Now, he called her my daughter in every introduction. As evening fell, the family gathered under the gazebo by the garden, soft jazz playing from hidden speakers, golden lights twinkling above. Zara sat on her mother's lap, half asleep. Obina leaned close, whispering, "You realize this is everything we ever prayed for?" Amelia smiled, her head resting on his shoulder. "More than that. We didn't just change our story, we changed theirs too." He turned to look at her. "Ours is a love that built a legacy." She gazed at the stars above, the same sky that had watched them through every trial. "Beneath this same sky," she whispered. Obina kissed her forehead gently. "Always." Years later, people would tell Zara stories about her parents, the Nigerian billionaire heir who defied tradition for love, and the white woman who taught a proud family how to heal. But for Obina and Amelia, the real story was simpler. It was about 2 hearts that refused to bow to fear. 2 souls that built an empire on grace, forgiveness, and devotion. And a love that proved, sometimes, heaven's greatest blessings are found in the arms of the one the world told you not to love.